Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for attending the Oracle Healthcare Integration Capabilities call. I'm Jürgen Kress, part of the Oracle Product Management team. In case you missed one of our webcasts, on-demand recordings are available at Oracle Video Hub, including presentation for download. In today's presentations, Steve Tindall will update us on the latest functionality for the healthcare industry and how to connect services with Oracle integration. SaaS services like ERP, HCM, and CX need to be connected. Oracle integration offers certified adapters and pre-built connectivity. Objective of the call is to choose an enterprise integration platform for the healthcare industry. Good morning, Steve, and thanks for attending.
Thanks, Jürgen. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So it's the middle of the night for you. You're based in Australia.
That's right. It is, yeah. It's early in the morning, about 2:30 a.m. But I'm feeling very refreshed, Jürgen, and keen to talk to the people. So feeling good.
So special thanks. In one or two sentences, why is the healthcare industry important for us, and why do we need integration in that market?
Well, of course, the healthcare industry is a new kind of a renewed push for Oracle as a company. We have acquired several different organizations in the healthcare industry. We are making a big push towards providing quality healthcare software. And as a result of that, we need to offer an integration solution for that industry. And it's an industry that we have not really supported very well from an Oracle integration point of view up until now. So we're adding support for the common protocols in the healthcare industry. And then OIC, of course, is a leading integration software product. And in the healthcare industry, to be honest, it is, from an integration point of view, it's mostly supported by very healthcare specific integration tools, which are not necessarily great enterprise integration tools. They do healthcare integration very well, but they're, I would say, traditional IDE based tools, not cloud native, not easy to use, and very focused on the healthcare market. Whereas Oracle Integration Cloud, as you well know, is an enterprise integration tool that can do all facets of your technology stack, now including healthcare.
Cool. So a lot of new features and announcements to expect today.
You'll see several new features, yeah. Sorry,
cool.
go ahead.
So therefore, please pay attention to the Oracle Safe Harbor statement. Please do blog and tweet only about services and functionality which is available today, and please do not blog about any roadmap information. Quick housekeeping, please feel free to post your questions via the conference Q&A tool or via Twitter, #PaaSCommunity. At the end of the webcast, we will answer them. Slides will be available at Video Hub channel and the community website. Please share your feedback via the Zoom survey at the end of the webcast. For today's agenda, I will start and kick off the call with some brief announcements and then hand over to Steve to give you all the insights about the healthcare market. So to kick it off on the integration side, if you had the chance to attend Oracle Cloud World, you can get now all the keynotes and the sessions via the conference website. And you can also watch the on-demand sessions and keynotes from our executive team. We produced the highlights webcast for the community on integration and digital assistant, and via the sessions catalog and the community website, you get the presentations. Thank you for everybody who became a certified expert. We finished the free certification campaign for the implementation assessment. We continue to offer the solution engineer and the sales engineer guided learning paths and assessments free of charge. So you can take a free online training for sales and solution engineer on the Oracle Integration Cloud, and you can become a free of charge a certified expert. We continue to offer the bootcamps, so thank you for everybody who attended one of our 3-day bootcamps. There's one more to come in December for the Brazilian market in Portuguese. If you have not registered, please read the community newsletter and sign up. And we are going to announce in December also the new bootcamps for 2024. All of that information will be published in the community newsletter. And we updated our community website with all the latest information and resources. Same on the digital assistant side, the Oracle Cloud World material is available. We published the latest newsletter and we updated the community website. In case you missed our customer success webcast series, you can watch it on demand. In the last presentation for North America, we had Pence presenting a wonderful success story, connecting their construction applications with Oracle integration. And in case you want to present yourself at one of those webcasts, please reach out to myself. We will update you on the latest features of the upcoming release, Oracle Integration 2312, on December 21st. Neil Kominski and myself will update you on event monitoring and also some information on the healthcare market. Registration is open, so please sign up. And we distributed our customer newsletter with the latest information for the customer base, which is distributed quarterly. So today's webcast is recorded and will be available on demand, including presentation at Oracle Video Hub. With that short introduction, I would like to hand over to you, Steve.
Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for taking your time to join this call. So today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a bit of the agenda here. So I'm going to make the assumption that most people on this call already know what Oracle Integration Cloud is. So I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time going through OIC itself. What I will do, I'll do a one-slide introduction to that in case there's some people on the call that don't know what Oracle Integration Cloud is. But other than that, I'm going to spend most of my time talking to you about a new product we are going to launch, or a new SKU which we're going to launch, called Oracle Integration Healthcare Edition. I'm going to talk about the features of that and what it consists of. And then I'm going to do a demo, so we'll see the product in action. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you should position that with your customers, what the use cases are that you can solve or go after with this product. And then we'll look at the release, the initial release, and the roadmap. So I'm sure if you've got questions, go ahead and post those in the Q&A section, and we'll get to those at the end. So I'm hoping most of you already know what Oracle Integration Cloud is. In case you don't, I'll give a quick overview for those who may be joining the call for the first time. Oracle Integration is a completely cloud hosted by Oracle platform as a service offering, which provides an integration capability which supports many applications across all industries really now. And so it is used for building integration flows and business processes across multiple different applications and silos and organizations within your organization. And it has kind of 6 or 7 key main capabilities within that. You can see in the kind of center top box there, application integration is the key one, and process automation, I should say. Process automation and application integration are kind of the key tenant capabilities. And then there are several other capabilities the product gives you: the ability to build applications in a visual manner. There's a built-in file server for your file integration needs. Of course, there's the ability to observe at runtime to look after your integrations and troubleshoot and report. There's a B2B capability. And now what I'm going to talk to you about today is there's a healthcare capability within the application as well. So it's a very well-rounded, in fact, probably the broadest kind of integration capability on the market, all cloud-based, all cloud-native, and all delivered in a browser. So very quick to develop and get to production, your enterprise integration flows. So that's OIC in a nutshell. For those who already know what that is, apologies for that. For those hearing that for the first time, I hope that gives you a very high level understanding of what it is. Part of the connectivity of OIC is the fact that we provide pre-built connectivity capabilities. And so there's over 100 different adapters to applications and technology products across the market. So it really is very, very easy to get started with OIC, and connecting Oracle integration to your applications and your technology stack is very, very simple. And you'll notice there in the bottom middle of the slide there, we've added connectivity for the healthcare industry, and that's what I'm going to drill down into and talk to you about now. So we will launch sometime in Q1 of 2024. We will launch a new SKU called the Oracle Integration Healthcare Edition. So when you create a new instance in Oracle Cloud, currently it asks you to choose between Standard and Enterprise Edition. In the future, you will see a third choice there called the Healthcare Edition. So it'll be a new edition of OIC. And that edition is a set of features in Oracle integration, which I'm going to talk about today. So the new edition gives you the right to use the new features that I'll talk to you today. And those new features which we're adding to Oracle integration constitute the Healthcare Edition. So what we're saying is there's a new pricing SKU. It'll be called Healthcare Edition, and that's a license vehicle to give you access to these new features in Oracle Integration Cloud. So it will include all of the capabilities of Enterprise Edition, plus several new features. All of the features which you will get in Healthcare Edition have not been finalized yet. So this is still a little bit of a moving target about what exactly will be included in Healthcare Edition, but it will be in everything in Enterprise. It will be obviously the healthcare specific features. It will be some extended data retention capabilities, plus various other features which we will bundle together, which we think are going to be needed for customers in the healthcare industry. So keep an ear out for what exactly is going to be included in the Healthcare Edition closer to the release date for that. But you get an overview of that today, which is a new edition, including new features for the healthcare industry. And I'm going to go through those features in detail, but at a high level, it's a document editor that helps you create healthcare documents and definitions. It's a new adapter for transporting HL7 documents, and it's a new healthcare action. So there's a new component in the developer palette which will help you to use these new healthcare documents. But let's go through that in a little bit more detail. If you're not familiar with the healthcare industry, then you will probably start to hear a number of different terms that you've not heard before. If you are familiar with the healthcare integration industry, then this slide will make a lot of sense to you. But the two key standards that you need to be aware of is something called HL7 and something called FHIR, or FHIR. HL7 is a standard for exchanging health data between applications. It's been around for quite some time, close to 35 or 40 years now. And it's a flat file based format. Looks reasonably similar to some B2B type formats. And then FHIR is a modern approach to healthcare integration or healthcare interoperability. And FHIR is an API based format that it's XML or JSON over REST protocol. So it's much more API focused, whereas the HL7 format is very much event message focused. So some event occurs and here's a message which represents that event. Where FHIR, which can be used for messaging, but it is more commonly used as an API for accessing health data and making health data available in your applications. And then some other key things there, CDA, DICOM and X12 HIPAA transactions. There are other standards within the industry. So CDA is a way that you can package up multiple different multiple different pieces of information and send it as a single document. DICOM is specifically for sharing medical images, and the HIPAA X12 transactions are for doing B2B transactions in the payer provider workflow. So it's around invoicing and billing and what medical procedures, etc., the payer will cover, etc. So it's all around the insurance industry. Okay, I'm not going to go through this whole slide in detail. You guys can retrieve these slides later and read this yourself. But the overview of this slide is just to set the expectation that fire, even though we have not yet built a dedicated fire adapter, OIC is very, very capable of doing fire integration today. As I said, fire is built on REST. It's a REST-based integration standard, and the documents you need to send are XML and JSON documents. And of course, OIC supports XML and JSON over REST out of the box. So you can integrate with Fire today very, very well using OIC. However, as you'll see in the roadmap later, we are going to build a dedicated Fire adapter, which will provide developers with a easier experience and allow them to do additional things beyond just what the REST specification provides. So we'll provide things like validation and some additional mapping tools that help map complex fire structures, etc., etc. So there's a Fire adapter coming, but I just want to make sure you all are very clear that you can start Fire integration in OIC immediately, and I'll show you that today actually in the demo. Okay, so let's have a quick chat about those features, just 4 or 5 more slides, some pictures, and then I'm going to get it straight into a demonstration and show you the features in action. So the first key feature that I'm going to show you is a new editor. So we are shipping with OIC Healthcare Edition a complete editor which allows you to fully build and customize your HL7, and once we release the Fire support early next year, also Fire messages. And we are pre-seeding OIC or shipping with OIC all of the HL7 definitions from version 2.3.1, which is a very early version of that, all the way up to 2.9. So those of you who are familiar with HL7 will understand what that means, but we are seeding OIC with all of the HL7 definitions. So you can take the HL7 schemas, load it straight into this editor, and modify that schema in OIC. So effectively, you have a HL7 editor in OIC to create your HL7 message definitions, which you can then use in your integration flows. There's a new healthcare action. So I'll demonstrate this action in a minute, but this is a new action you can drop down onto the palette from the OIC developer canvas. And this action helps you to convert native HL7 messages which have come on the wire, to convert them into OIC XML payloads. So this is just the action that allows you to take a native HL7 message and convert it into and out of OIC format. Since the native kind of payload for OIC is an XML document, we need to get those incoming messages into XML before you can map them, etc. So this is the gateway tool between the proprietary HL7 message and the OIC world, and it will provide in the future to multiple different healthcare related utility functions. So this will become a single action that you can use for multiple different things related to healthcare. A little bit like, in the file server world, we have an action specifically called stage file that helps you to do things like convert files to CSV, etc., to write files, to loop through files, to chunk read files. It's a specialist kind of file handling action. This healthcare action is going to be a specialist healthcare action for handling healthcare messages. And so here's just one example. You drop that down, it asks you, what do you want to do with this message? In this case, I'm saying, hey, I want to match and translate an inbound message that I've received. I want to match it to a definition that I've created. And then lastly, we've built a brand new adapter. This is the MLLP adapter. Don't get too confused by this. MLLP is simply the protocol. It's the wire protocol that is used to transmit HL7 messages. So HL7 messages can be sent by any means. I mean, there's no reason you can't download a HL7 message via FTP and process it that way, or receive it on a message queue, etc. But in the healthcare world, typically health applications exchange HL7 messages in real time using this TCP/IP-based protocol called MLLP. So most of or I would say actually all healthcare applications today typically support sending and receiving of HL7 messages over MLLP. And so OIC now has a bidirectional adapter that can receive and send HL7 messages over MLLP. So typically health applications will emit HL7 messages, and they need an endpoint to send those messages to. And so OIC can act as that endpoint that your healthcare applications can send their HL7 messages to, and we'll see that in the demo. All right, so let's transition to that demonstration now. I'll give you a quick overview of what I'm going to show you. So what I'm going to show you is a pretty simple, but I've used a simple use case intentionally. This is a common use case. So this is, it's a patient details change use case. So a patient detail is going to get updated in our EMR, our electronic medical records application. That's the blue on the left. And that application will automatically send out, once that event occurs, it will send out a HL7 messages over MLLP. Now you'll note here that the OIC agent is being used. And so this new MLLP adapter that I'm talking about is running inside the agent. So that message, this application is configured to send that application to OIC. The address that it's been given is the OIC adapter. The OIC adapter is going to send that HL7 message to Oracle integration. The integration will execute. In this case, the integration is going to do a couple of things. It's going to take that HL7 message. It's going to convert it into a normal OIC payload. We're going to map that HL7 message from HL7 format into FHIR format. And then I'm going into a FHIR resource, it's called, a FHIR JSON document for patient. And I'm going to update an external FHIR repository. So this will show us that we can call FHIR resources, and we can update a master patient index, if you like, using FHIR. We'll update or insert that patient we receive, the patient details that's coming from the HL7 message. And at the same time, in parallel to that, we're going to take that HL7 message and we're going to map it from version 2.5. So it's going to, looking here on the left, the EMR is going to emit a message which is of type ADT-AO8, which is the update patient information message. It's going to emit version 2.5 of that message. And our integration is going to translate that, if you like, or down version it to a version 2.3.1 message. So an older version of the same specification. Apologies. An older version of the same specification. And it's going to send that 2.3.1 version out to another external application of ours, which is our pathology system. So this is a typical use case where a patient detail has changed and we need to propagate that patient change or that details change to multiple different downstream applications. We're going to propagate it to a new master patient index which supports FHIR, and we're going to propagate it to quite an old pathology application which only supports HL7 version 2.3.1. And so in this case, OIC is converting to FHIR and sending it to a FHIR repository, and it's downgrading the message from HL7 2.5 to 2.3.1 and sending that HL7 2.3.1 message to our pathology application. All right, so let's jump in and take a look at this demo. So I have two applications here I'm going to show you. Both of these applications are actually just HL7 editing tools. They're HL7 utility tools. They allow me to edit a HL7 message, but they allow me to send a HL7 message as well. So they can both act as a sender of a message and a receiver of a message. So this application here is going to act as my EMR. And you can see here I have a patient record open. This is, for those who are interested, this is what a HL7 message looks like. So it's pipe delimited, pipe and caret delimited. And we can see here I've got a patient record open for Barry White. We can change that to James. We'll change Barry's name to James Spader, and we'll go ahead and hit the send button. So this is simulating someone making a change in an EMR application, and that EMR application would be configured to automatically send this ADT A08 message out when the patient details have changed. And you can see here I received back a acknowledgement to say that OIC successfully received my message. And if we look over here at this second application, this application is representing my pathology application in this scenario. So it's representing this pink box here in the diagram. It received an inbound message. So my pathology application actually received on its listening port a HL7 message. It received, I know this is very difficult for you to see, but it received a version 2.3.1 version of my HL7 message, and it contains my patient information as updated in the other application. So all you can see there is I made a change in one application. It emitted a HL7 message, and a second application, our pathology application, received a translated version of that message. Okay, let's go and see that in OIC. And we'll also look at the FHIR transformation and update that we did as well. Okay, so this is Oracle Integration Cloud. I think most of you will be very familiar with that. For those of you who haven't, you'll get a good tour of what OIC looks like as part of this demonstration. The first thing you'll notice when I click on the menu for Oracle Integration Cloud now is you'll see this new healthcare menu here. So a bit like B2B, there's like a mini application within OIC called healthcare. And when we click on that, today in the first release, the only thing that's in there is really the document editor. So the ability for you to build HL7 schemas and documents, and I'll explain that just now. But in this healthcare application moving forward, there'll be many different things. There'll be we'll add support for FHIR, as I mentioned. We'll add support for routing rules to help decouple your integrations from the endpoints. So there's lots more functionality planned to be added to this healthcare application over the coming 6 months. But today, in the first release, what you'll find in there is the ability to edit HL7 messages. So the schema section, for those of you who used our B2B product, this will look pretty familiar. We've taken the editor and improved it for healthcare, but it's a very similar looking tool. The schema tool allows you, this is where you can define the definition of the HL7 messages that you're going to use in your integrations. Okay, and so you can in the healthcare integration market, almost every message is customized. So almost no one uses out of the box HL7 message definitions. Typically, you will take a message definition from the HL7 standard, and you'll customize or add some custom fields to that to suit your specific use case. So in this case, if I was going to model the message that I just showed you in our demo, which is the patient change message, I would come in here. I'd say, hey, I want to create a custom let's say A08 message, and it will ask me, well, what do you want to base this message you're going to define on? And here's where I can choose the standard. So today we're supporting HL7 V2. We do have support for HL7 V3 on the roadmap, but HL7 V2 is the predominant standard used across the world. Almost all organizations are using version 2. Some are using version 3, but almost all are using version 2. So that's what we're supporting first. You would pick the document version that you want to support. So for example, for this demo, I'm expecting to receive a 2.5 version message. So I would say, hey, I want to define a 2.5 version message. And that's going to ask me, well, what message is it that you want to define? And here's where you can choose all the predefined events and their corresponding message that are part of the HL7 standard. And there are quite a few of those, and they're, you know, a lot to do with patient, of course, but then many to do with test, ordering a test results, imaging documents, a lot of it are hospital operational type events, so bed status change, patient returns from leave, delete a patient, etc., etc. So all the kind of actions that you'd expect to find for a healthcare workflow are covered by a different event and document here. So the one we're interested in is AO8, which is update patient information. So I would choose that and hit create. And what that's going to do for me is create a new document, a new HL7 schema definition called custom AO8 message. And it's pre-loaded my message with the out-of-the-box fields and segments of that HL7 standard. So almost all HL7 messages start with a message header. So every message will have a message header. That's the MSH header. And then there's many different segments that can exist inside a HL7 message. I'm not going to go through all of those today. A lot of the messages also will have this envelope, which contains some kind of routing information, date, time information, and that sort of thing. But then one of the key segments that you'll find in many messages is the PID segment, or patient identification. And this is where, you know, you'll find things like patient ID and patient name, etc., etc. Okay, again, I'm not going to go through all of those now, but you get the idea. This is the out-of-the-box HL7 message for AO8. Now, you could go and edit these. You can change them. You can add new segments. You can do whatever you like in this editor. Typically, you don't change the out-of-the-box segments. Typically, what you do, very similar to B2B, is you would come to the bottom here. You would delete the segments that you're not planning to use, okay, for your message, and you would add a new segment. So you'd add a new segment here. I'm not going to do that in this demo. You guys can play with that yourself if you want to, but you can add a new segment, and you'd call that a Z segment or a Z segment. A Z segment is typically a segment that contains all customized fields. So you'd create a new Z segment, and you'd put any additional patient information or any additional custom fields that you need to have in your message for this particular integration. You would add in that Z segment. So you'd end up with a new segment down here called Z PDA or something, whatever you wanted to call it, and you'd add all your child fields under there. Okay. So that's the schema editor. This is an editor that allows you to customize HL7 schema messages. Once you've created your schema, once you've created your custom message, you then have to create or an instance of that, which is a reference to that schema. And this document definition you create here is the definition that you will use in your integration flows. So if I now wanted to use that message that I just created, that schema message I just created, I'd come in and create a new document. I'll call it patient change. I'm going to use HL7 V2 2.5, and I'm going to use the ADT AO8 message. And this document here, patient change, is based, you can see it, or is referring to HL7 V2 version 2.5, but it's now asking me, do I want to refer to the out-of-the-box schema, or do I want to refer to the customized schema that I just created? So I could choose, hey, I want to refer to the customized schema that I just created. And now I have a document definition, or a message definition is the better term actually. I've defined a new patient change message, and it's based on this customized schema that I just created. So I have my patient change message, and I can now go and use that in my integrations. For reference, I've already defined here AO8 patient update 2.5 and AO8 patient update 231. They're the two message definitions we're going to use in our demo. Okay, so moving on from the document manager, let's go and have a look at the actual integration. We'll show the integration flow, and then we will talk about the components in that. So if I go into my observability section of OIC and I click on instances, we can see here that my integration ran. There's some other people using this environment, so there's some other integrations that have run since then. But you can see here 10 minutes ago when I ran the demo, there's two integrations that fired. There's one that's called handle MLLP inbound. So this is like my dispatcher integration. I won't show that, but that's an integration which simply, actually I will show it. It simply receives the HL7 message on the wire, converts that message using the HL7 in action, which the new action which I talked about. I'll show you a bit more detail of that in a second. So it's just simply literally receiving the message on the wire. So you'll see here the trigger for this integration is the new MLP adapter. Okay, so this is referring to, that's this integration here. So the EMR application sent the message, it arrived at OIC, and it hit the HL7 trigger, which triggered my integration. In this healthcare action is where we specify which HL7 messages we want to match. So you can see here I'm calling this match and translate inbound message, and I've specified this AO8 patient update to version 2.5. And it's basically saying, hey, if you receive a HL7 message on the wire and it matches this definition, then continue. Then this healthcare step will convert the message and continue. If it doesn't match, if the message received doesn't match any of the documents you've selected here, it will raise a fault, and you can act on that fault. It'll say unmatched document, etc. So in this integration, I'm receiving that HL7 message, I'm converting it to OIC format, and I'm simply calling a child integration. I'm using a lookup, I won't explain that, but based on the metadata of the message I received, I call a lookup, and then I invoke a child integration to process that message. So that's all this dispatcher integration does. It just looks at the message received and dispatches it to a child integration. That child integration is here. It's called process ADT AO8. So I dispatched the message coming in here to this child integration called process ADT AO8. So this is the integration we'll actually spend our time looking at, which does the business logic. So again, the message is received. It's just a REST message because it was a child integration. I'm calling the healthcare action again, and this time I am calling, I'm getting a little bit of a delay here, not sure what's going on here, but I'll just talk about that while we're waiting. I'm calling this time a function which takes that HL7 message, which we processed in the last integration, and this is where it converts it or makes it a fully mappable OIC payload. So after this step, we have the OIC message available in the mapper to be mapped, and I'll show you that in just a second. So I'm calling this method, this operation this time, convert message reference to document, and I again chose my my schema definition, and this is where OIC was able to apply my schema definition to that inbound message and give me a mappable document. So let's have a look what that looks like. So what I'm doing in this integration, let me just minimize slightly here. I'm going into a parallel branch, and I'm doing two things in parallel. The first branch is converting this HL7 message, which I'll show you in just a second in the mapper. It's converting it into a FHIR resource. So I'm mapping from HL7 format into FHIR format. And then I'm calling an external FHIR service, FHIR database, a FHIR repository, and I'm calling find patient. And if that patient exists in that FHIR repository already, I'm going to go ahead and update the patient, and that's the path that you can see it took here. If that patient didn't exist, so if FHIR, you can see here, the condition here is, hey, if the HTTP response was 200 and the resource type was patient, in other words, if I found the patient, then I'm going to go down this path, which is update. If I didn't find a patient, I'm going to go down this path, which is to insert the patient using FHIR. But the mapping, of course, between update and insert is almost the same. So we'll just show you that now. So we're going to go ahead and map this message from HL7 format to FHIR format. And here you can see on the left-hand side the output of our FHIR conversion message. So this is the raw FHIR message that came on the wire, and it's been converted into an OIC payload. And you can see here it returned that message, and I can map out of that message. You can see here my PID. Remember I talked about the PID segment, which contains patient information. There's also got the message header there and the envelope, but the PID is the one that we're interested in. And here is where we've got things like patient name, family name, given name, etc. We've got things like, if we get off patient name, we've got things like date of birth and time of birth, mother's maiden name, gender, sex, etc. All of the kind of patient address, telephone numbers, etc. So all the patient demographic information is in this PID segment. Over on the right-hand side, I'm calling something called Happy FHIR. For those of you who know what that is, Happy FHIR is a reference implementation for a FHIR server. So it's a FHIR server which is running in the internet. You can all use it, it's free of charge. But it's representing my FHIR-based patient server or patient database. And you can see here, I'm mapping various different bits of information from the HL7 message into the FHIR message. So you can see I'm mapping name to name, I'm mapping sex to gender, etc. So here's an interesting use of an OIC lookup. So in the HL7 world, this field sex will contain either a capital M, a capital F, or a capital U for male, female, or unknown. Whereas in the FHIR world, you need to provide the word male, female, or unknown, or I think there's another one, undisclosed or something like that. And so I'm just calling a lookup here. Those of you who know what an OIC lookup is, it just takes the information on the left and it substitutes, based on that information it finds, it'll substitute. So in this case, it'll substitute the capital M for the word male, and it'll go ahead and update that. I'm doing something similar with telecom and phone numbers and various other things. But you can see here is a basic mapping between HL7 and FHIR. Once we've mapped that, I go ahead and do an invoke. This is a regular REST invoke using the REST adapter, and I'm sending a HL7, sending a JSON message. I'll show you that in the activity stream in just a second, but there's nothing really to show here. I'm mapping from HL7 to JSON, and I'm doing an invoke to the Happy FHIR server using REST. This last thing I just want to show you before we move on is the second action. So that, remember, this is a parallel action. So I'm doing two actions in parallel in two different threads. The second action I'm doing here is I'm taking that HL7 message and I'm transforming it or mapping it from one HL7 version to another. So on the left-hand side is my HL7 message, which you've just seen, the exact same payload. So this is the HL7 message that we received on the wire. And then my target in this case is another HL7 message. So I'm transforming into HL7 as well. And in this case, I'm transforming into HL7, a different version of HL7. So you can see here, I'm transforming some message information, and I'm using, the XSLT function here to do a copy of, for the integrations which are, sorry, for the segments which are identical, I'm just doing a copy of the entire segment. So I'm saying, hey, take this envelope segment and just copy it immediately into the envelope segment of this message. In the message header, there were some differences. So I couldn't just do a copy of, I had to map some of the header fields individually, because the message header in version 2.3.1 is different to in version 2.5. So I'm doing a combination here of individual maps and a combination of using the XSLT copy of function to do mappings of whole segments. Okay, so that's just a simple mapping from HL7 2.5 to HL7 2.3.1. And then I go ahead and I'm using the HL7, the new HL7 action again. And this time, and that's very interesting. I'm not sure why there is a delay there. Hopefully that'll come back in just a second. This time I'm using that HL7 message to convert from an OIC payload into a native HL7 message. So this is the opposite of where I received the message. I'm now doing the outbound use case. I'm taking the HL7, I'm taking the OIC message, which I've just mapped, and I'm translating it to an outbound HL7 message using this ADT AO8 2.3.1 schema that I created. So this is me creating a native HL7 message on the wire. And then I'm going ahead and I'm doing an invoke. So I'm invoking the MLP adapter and giving it my HL7 message that I just created. So that is corresponding to this last step where I'm sending outbound from OIC using the MLP adapter. I'm invoking an external HL7 endpoint. This was my Fire endpoint up here, which we did the invoke, translate and invoke to. And this is now our external HL7 system, our pathology system, which is expecting that to version 2.3.1 message. So this invoke I'm showing you now is invoking an external HL7 health application, which is using the MLLP protocol. Okay, so that's what that step is doing. That's me doing the invoke. And we can go ahead and look at some of those things. Those of you know, this is the debug view, the activity stream. We can look at that parallel action. We can see action 1 was mapping into Fire, and action 2, which is the one I'll show you in here. Action 2 is mapping from HL7 to HL7. You can see here we invoked HL7 translate. Here's the map. So here's the inbound and outbound message of that map. And if we look here at the HL7 message, the invoke MLP adapter, we can see the message we're sending off outbound. It's been packaged up into, encoded in base 64 and sent off to the adapter. Okay. And you'll see here that the pathology application acknowledged the message we sent. I'm trying to show you the native message here, but it looks like I did not send it to the, oh, maybe I did, logger here. Oh, that's not good. That's showing it in hex or something, I think. But if we look here at the acknowledgement, this is the message we got back from our pathology application. Here we can see the native HL7. This is the acknowledgement message we sent. So this, so part of the MLP protocol is that it does kind of a handshake. So you send a message and it sends you back an acknowledgement. And that's what this acknowledgement is saying, that's the external system confirming back to OIC that they received our outbound message. Okay, I'm going to stop there. That concludes the demo. So I'll just go back to the slides and confirm that we just saw this in action. I showed you an EMR application emitting a HL7 message. I showed you OIC receiving that message and converting it into FHIR and sending it to a FHIR repository. And you also saw HL7 converting that. So you also saw OIC converting that HL7 2.5 message into a 2.3.1 message and sending that HL7 message outbound to our pathology application. And that's what this message is here in our pathology application. It received that message. Okay, I know you've got a bunch of questions. I'll come back and answer those shortly. I just want to talk very quickly about how you should position OIC for healthcare and some of the use cases that you can address with this. So healthcare organizations, so the HL7 message standard is used very commonly to share real-time messages between healthcare applications, all sorts of different healthcare applications, okay? And most healthcare organizations, or those that particularly that run hospitals, so let's talk about the provider, the health provider segment. So those organizations that are running a hospital, you know, the front office apps for a hospital, for example, applications like their EMR, their pathology application, their medical imaging application. If you're running a hospital, you'd have a patient administration system, a catering management system, a pharmacy application, etc. So there's 6 or 7 core applications that these healthcare organizations need to run a hospital. I'm specifically talking about running a hospital. And the HL7 protocol is used in a very real-time way between all of those applications inside a hospital operating environment. Okay, so that's one of the use cases of HL7. So a patient presents at the emergency department, the doctor or the nurse emits them into the EMR, and that the EMR application sends a register patient message. When they leave, it sends a deregister the message. When the doctor orders a blood test, it sends an order message for a blood test. When the pathology system returns the results, the pathology system sends a blood test results message, etc. When the patient is admitted to hospital, the EMR will send a patient admission message to the patient administration system and the catering management system, etc., to say, hey, find this patient a bed, etc., etc. So all of the real-time messages that are flowing around inside a hospital between all these applications are typically using that HL7 standard that I just showed you. What I'm suggesting to you today is there is a very niche integration market for addressing that real-time message flow in a hospital environment. That's typically referred to as a healthcare interface engine. Okay, that is in the healthcare industry, you'll hear that term, a healthcare interface engine. And what I'm positioning for you today is we don't want to go after that use case with OIC for healthcare in the first release. We need to tune it a bit more. We need some higher performance. We need something called guaranteed order message delivery, so message ordering, etc. So I'm proposing you stay away from that use case on day one. However, there's a much even bigger opportunity that you can go after straight away. All of these healthcare organizations are, of course, running businesses. So they all have a HCM and an ERP and a CRM application as well. So they've got the same back office applications that any other organization has. And they have a huge requirement to integrate the health data that's locked up in their front office applications with their back office applications. And so this is a use case that I do want you to go after, okay? We should be selling OIC into all of these healthcare organizations for their standard back office integrations and for all their integrations between their back office and their front office. So, for example, in this EMR, when a patient is emitted or a patient is checked out of hospital, yes, definitely capture that HL7 message that is emitted by the EMR, translate that into a message to use in ERP to build to create an invoice or something like that. So there's a whole bunch of use cases joining the front office and the back office, and we definitely do want you to position OIC for that. Okay, so things like billing for extracting data, or here's a set of use cases. So, transfer of care when a patient exits a hospital, what is the workflow that needs to happen in the back end for billing and all of those sorts of things, or for transferring information to other healthcare providers, etc. Or maybe you need to update an immunization register. Okay, so in the US, for example, many states hold an immunization register, and when a customer or a patient goes into hospital and gets immunized for COVID-19, for example, or for any other immunization, often that hospital has a requirement to update the state immunization register. There's lots of things like inventory sync between EMR and ERP. There's the whole payer-provider workflow, so insurance companies paying and providing, research institutes, government agencies, etc. So there's a huge number of use cases that you can go after. Here's just some looking at basic healthcare apps and fusion applications. So workflow, workforce optimization, staff assignments, predicting inventory, etc., all of those sorts of things. And here's the types of data interfaces, or I guess, use cases you might implement in OIC. So accounts payable, doing refunds between the EMR application and the ERP. One thing these EMR applications do is they maintain inventory. So the hospital has, using the EMR to say, hey, how many bandages and needles and whatnot do we have in stock? And so there's a huge integration requirement to synchronize inventory between these healthcare applications and ERP, etc. So there's a huge number of integration use cases that can be implemented that fit into this, the back office, and where the back office touches the front office. All I'm saying is, over the next 6 to 9 months, we will tune OIC and implement a couple of key technology features, which will also allow us to operate in this healthcare interface engine market, but we're not ready to do that straight away. So if you need more guidance and help to qualify those opportunities, do reach out to the pre-sales team or even to me directly, and I'll help you with that. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of the use cases and where to position OIC. And then finally, I want to talk quickly about the roadmap, and then we'll go for questions. Jürgen, how are we doing for time?
Yeah, we have about 5 more minutes, 6 more minutes.
Okay, great. So I'll finish the roadmap very quickly, and then we'll take some questions. So this slide I can go through very quickly. I've just shown you these features. So in the initial release, so we have released this in 23.10. It's released in version 23.10, hidden behind a feature flag. So customers can request access to this today, and we can turn on these features in their existing instance. And the 3 key features we released are the message editor that I showed you, the new MLP adapter, and the healthcare action. Okay, so I'm running an early adopter program. Before we release the new healthcare edition that I mentioned, before we do a general availability or GA release of the healthcare edition in the Q1 next year, we are running an early adopter program right now. We can enable these features in customers' existing instances today. I have written a blog all about that early adopter program. Jürgen is going to provide you the link to that blog, or you can just search the integration blogs and you'll find that. And all of the information needed about the early adopter program is in that blog. So if you're interested in the early adopter program and these 3 features today, read that blog and reach out to me. In the future, so over the next year, we are planning quite a bit more. We are adding a new Fire adapter, as I mentioned. This will give us native support for Fire inside OIC. As I said, you can do Fire today using the REST adapter, but we will provide a Fire adapter which does quite a bit of additional things, and I'm happy to present that in the future. We are working on an application adapter for Cerner. So for Cerner Millennium, we are working on an application adapter in OIC that allow you to integrate with Cerner directly via a set of APIs. So you can of course send patient information, or you can of course integrate with Cerner today using the HL7 interface and the FHIR interface that they provide. And you can do that with any healthcare application today using HL7 and FHIR. But this application adapter will provide access to a further range of APIs available in Cerner. So there's an application adapter coming for Cerner. For those of you who are very familiar with the healthcare industry, you will take note here that we will add these other common protocols over the next 6 months as well. So we'll add CDA and DICOM. We'll add additional HL7 capabilities, batch file processing, and various other things, guaranteed message order delivery. This is an important part of that other use case I talked about. So these messages getting delivered in a very specific order. We'll add support for OIC projects, of course. You guys know what projects are in OIC. We'll add healthcare support for that. We need to do a bit more work on the agent high availability setup so that you can run this new MLLP adapter in a highly available production mode. We will add HIPAA support. We'll add HL7 endpoint management for monitoring these MLLP endpoints in real time in a production application. So this is queue depth management and things like that. We'll add HL7 v3 support, and then we'll also look at other application adapters. So Epic and Allscripts are other very key EMR applications in the market. We'll look at adding things for that as well. So I know I've just jammed a huge amount of information into your head. This was intended to just alert you as to what these features are. Hopefully it has given you a high-level overview of what's possible. I'm very happy to take a few questions in the time we've got left, and I'm very happy for you to reach out to me in the future if you've got questions. So Jürgen, I'll hand back to you, and happy to take questions if you would like to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks for the excellent presentation. So to wrap it up, if you're not yet a member in the partner communities, please make sure that you register. As a community member, you also get access to the community websites. Like Steve mentioned, there is a blog for healthcare and integration. It's at blogs.oracle.com/integration. Make use of the documentation and read the details about the early adopter program. If you have implemented successful an integration project in the healthcare industry, please send us the win template, share your success story, and we can start promoting it. With that, we come to the questions and answers.
Okay, I've been answering a few here. Jürgen, one question was, can we start referring to this with our customers already? Is it public? And the answer to that would be, please use this time to find some healthcare customers that you think would be good early adopters. As I said, the products have been released, but I need to enable the customer, so it's a feature flag type arrangement. They are in the 2310 release, but I need to turn the features on. So early adopters at the moment. The next question is, when will it be GA? I am aiming for the February release, but it may not be till the April release of 2024 before we go GA. So either February or April release. I'm hoping that it will be fully GA. The new healthcare edition will be available, etc., etc. Next question. Is OIC agent supported on Windows or just Linux? It does run and work on Windows, but we strongly advise that you run it on Linux. It is much, much, much more reliable on Linux, as well as you can run it in the background. You can schedule it as can run as a service and all of those sorts of things. And many of those capabilities are not very well supported in Windows. So yes, it does run on Windows. I would not run it in a production environment on Windows. That would be my answer to that question. Next question. Can the FHIR API be invoked using REST adapter, or can it only be invoked using FHIR adapter? Excellent question, Prabhu. I showed you in this demonstration that I invoked a Fire API using the normal OIC REST adapter. So Fire is just JSON or XML over REST. So you can integrate Fire completely today using the normal REST adapter. So you do not need to wait for the Fire adapter to do Fire integration today. OIC can do it. The new Fire adapter, which is coming early next year, will make it much easier. It will provide some additional capability that like validation and various other things, but you do not need to wait. You can call the Fire APIs today. Hopefully that is clear. What is the typical security policy required for invoking a Fire server using the REST adapter? Many of them, the Fire specification specifies OAuth. So you can use so the answer to that question is it depends on the implementation of the Fire server, but most Fire servers today are supporting OAuth, and so you will use the OAuth capability inside the REST adapter as you normally would, and we will support OAuth in the Fire adapter moving forward as well. So it does support basic authentication and OAuth. Most servers are supporting OAuth. Next question, is HL7 commonly used in Europe? Yes, it is. Many of health applications in Europe are using HL7. So yes, very strongly used in Europe and the US. The one thing I mentioned today, which is not heavily used in Europe, is the HIPAA X12 transactions. Those B2B X12 transactions, HIPAA, that is pretty much a North American set of standards, but other than that, everything else I mentioned today is widely used across the world in both Europe, Asia Pacific, and North America and South America. Can OIC connect to the Open Fire sandbox? Yes, OIC can connect to any Fire server today using REST. So the answer to that is yes. Next question, when is HIPAA X12 support expected? I'm not sure if development has commenced yet, but it would be very close to commencing. So Steve Anderson asked that question. I won't give it an exact date, but I'm very hopeful that it'll be in H1 of 2024. So hopefully within the next 4 months or so. That support will appear in our B2B product. So I showed you the B2B module, which already exists within Oracle. The B2B module already supports X12, but it doesn't support the HIPAA transactions specifically. We will add HIPAA transaction support to the existing X12 support in B2B. Great overview and thanks. Join the develop. Oh, that's from you. Next question. Okay, I think that's all the questions actually, Jürgen. The other two there are comments from people. So
yeah.
I think we're done.
Thanks for the wonderful presentation. Thanks for doing that in the middle of the night. If you have further questions, you can reach out via LinkedIn or social media to Steve and myself, or you can use the partner Slack channel to post your questions. If you have questions, reach out to our local team, Neil in EMEA, Paulo in South America, Ravi in the US, Ravi Pinto in India, Steve is managing Asia, and for partner questions, please contact myself. And we put now all the links together on the resource page. I posted the link. So thank you very much for attending today's webcast. Once you leave, please complete the online survey, and we are looking forward to welcome you on December 19th for the Christmas webcast. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you, Steve, for the excellent presentation, and thanks to Steve in the studio.